Hey, good afternoon, everybody. Welcome back to Arizona Unplugged. So, once again, I'm not at the homestead. I'm on the freeway here in San Diego County, just getting off of work. And been thinking about a subject that I think is appropriate for this channel. This is, obviously, if you're here, you know, all about homesteading, living off the grid. That's what this channel is about, unlike my main channel, Backcountry Preps, which is more political commentary, current events, that type of thing. If you're interested in that, go check it out, Backcountry Preps. If you're new here, please like and subscribe if you feel inclined to do so. I want to talk about what to expect before moving off grid and kind of the chain of events that you may want to consider if this is a lifestyle that you're pursuing. What you need to do to kind of get ready for that. It is a big deal, a big decision. Lots of big decisions have to be made. You got to take into consideration if it has not been your life goal to live off grid, if this is something that you've thought about in the last few years, or as soon as Biden took over and started ruining the country, if you've been compelled or motivated to move off grid and it's more of a recent thing, I think this video might help you into learning what to expect, what I think you may want to consider before making that jump, because once again, it is a big step. Now, I want to preface this video by saying this, that everything I talk about is based on my experience. Your experience maybe is totally different. You may live in a spot right now where moving off grid is like moving a couple miles away. That is not the case for me. We currently live in San Diego County, even though, yes, we are technically in the country. We are far east San Diego County, almost to Imperial County, which means we're about 60 miles or so from the town. So technically, I guess we're not really off grid, but we are definitely out of the city currently. But where we're moving in northern Arizona, it's quite different, and there's a lot of changes that will happen. So once again, this is my experience, this is what I'm going through, and I want to share it with you guys. Hopefully will help you in the journey that you're going on. So the biggest thing I can say, or one of the things you may want to consider doing before packing up the kids and heading to the woods, is your debt. Where are you at with debt? Do you own vehicles that you're paying on monthly? Do you have a mortgage that you're paying on monthly? Do you have credit card debt, school debt, bank loans, all that stuff? Do you have any of that? And if so, what is your grand total? What's the big number? If you were to add all your debt together and also taking in consideration interest, how much are you spending every month? And is this debt going to be carried over to your new property? Because once again, in my case, where I'm moving, I can't run my business there. I'm a plumbing contractor here in San Diego, and we're successful because of the large city. We have a large population, I think 3 or 4 million in the city. I could be wrong on that. I haven't looked it up in a while. But what I'm saying is there's a lot of work in San Diego for a person like me. So money in San Diego is not an issue. It's easy to make money here. But where I'm going, I won't be able to do that because the population is so low. And to be honest, the people that are there are mostly like retired fixed income people that can't afford, San Diego contractor rates. So I'm not going out there to install toilets or fix faucets, guys. I'm going out there. I have to be creative, I guess is what you could say, with making money, because at the end of the day, I still will need to make money. Now, we're doing great on paying off debt. We actually just paid off another large amount of debt today. Today cleared finally. God, bastards. So we're systematically crunching all our debt. So really, all we have as far as debt right now is this truck I'm driving in. So that's about it. We don't have much as far as credit card debt. I don't even own a credit card, guys, to be honest with you. I do everything in cash. Almost everything in cash. We have a little bit of credit card debt, my wife does, but not much at all. I mean, barely anything. We'll have that paid off in a month or so. But we don't have a mortgage. The Arizona homestead is paid off. Again, we have this truck. We have our normal bills, food, gas, insurance, cell phone, that type of thing, internet. And, our normal money where we go out to eat and travel and, maintenance, the basic stuff that you can't really get away from if you have any kind of technology around you. So before moving off grid, before taking that big leap, you have to consider, are you going to be able to work where you're at? And if not, is your debt paid down to a point where you don't have to work? It is very important, because moving off grid, I think, and I dare say, one of the biggest reasons why people fail when they move off grid is because they underestimated the amount of money that they're going to need to continue their lifestyle. Now, if you plan on going out and working where your income is not changed, that's another thing. Again, this is my story. This is where we're looking at. When I move out there, I don't want to work. I'm almost 50 years old, guys, and it's always been my goal as an adult to be retired at 50. And looks like we're going to do it. Looks like I'm going to reach that goal. Retired at 50. But that doesn't mean I'm not going to work. I'm actually going to start another business. Not necessarily because I need to pay bills with the money. It's just I don't want to not be bringing in an income. So I got things in the works. I got irons in the fire, so to speak. Money, it shouldn't be an issue. Hopefully, if all goes to plan. But you got to always plan for the unforeseen. What if I fall and snap my leg, or I die, or my wife gets sick, or one of my kids gets sick, or something like that, where you need an income or a chunk of money saved up in order to pay for that. So that's another thing to take in consideration. I highly, highly recommend that you don't just jump in with both feet and hope for the best, especially if you're a family head. You have responsibilities. You have to make sure there's food on the table. You have to make sure the lights turn on, there's clean water to drink. You have to make sure there's food in the freezer. That's your job as a man. That's your job. And you have to make sure that is going to be possible when you move. Now, we've been at this process, guys, as you know, if you've been around for a while, for about 5 years. When we bought this property and we started fixing stuff up to make it livable, 5 years, guys, it took to get to the point where we're at now. We are on the home stretch. Within, I think, 10 months, 9 months maybe, we will be out of here, out of California. But what I'm trying to get at is it's a process. It takes time. In our case, about 5 years. So jumping right into something so big, such a big decision, I highly suggest you don't take it lightly. Think about what you're doing. Be honest with yourself. Don't think, I'll put faith in the Lord and He'll take care of everything. That's fine sentiment. And, if you have faith like that, that's great. For me personally, what does it say? God helps those who helps themselves. I know that's not a real scripture, but it's a saying. But it's kind of true. I'm going to make sure our stuff is right before we leave. Because I'm leaving a lot. I'm leaving a lot of people, all the people I've met in the last 20 years here in San Diego. I'm leaving all those folks, or most of those folks. I'm leaving my career, my successful job. I'm leaving that. All for, living in the woods. Self-sufficient, off-grid, solar power, rainwater, that type of thing. And it's scary. Not gonna lie, guys. I'm 6 feet, 260 pounds. I look like this. And this move is pretty intimidating. It's pretty scary. Not necessarily for me. If I was solo, no problem. I'd pack stuff in the truck. I would go right now. Because it's just me. But it's not just me. I got my wife, kids. I got a lot of people that depend on me. I need to make sure everybody's set before I make that move. I know of a fella I haven't seen him on here lately on YouTube, but he bounced out to Arizona, got his little homestead, his property, and started doing stuff on it. And just seems like a black cloud hanging over him. I think he got the virus, you know what I'm talking about. Can't really say it here on YouTube, otherwise they'll flag me. He got the virus. He had auto issues. He had money issues. He had to stay in town, living in his car basically, to work, to make money, to fix his car so he can get back to the homestead. That is poor planning, in my opinion. Great guy, nice guy, great heart, as far as I know. Good intentions, all that good stuff, but he leapt a little bit too far too soon, and I think that's why I haven't seen him here on YouTube. I think, you know, last I heard, he's talking about going up to Alaska. You know, to each their own, and he did what he thought was right, but people fail all the time because they don't have proper planning. Again, we're in this 5 years deep, and we're still not to the point where we can move. Now, I know everybody's situation and circumstances are different. I get that. Some people have buttloads of debt. Some people don't have a strong enough income to be able to make a big change like that. It is, like I said, a scary thing, and props to those that have done it, that are doing it now. That takes courage, a lot of courage, to give up the amenities of life, as it were, to go live out in the sticks with the bears and the snakes and the wolves and javelinas, you know, especially as a family. You know, you got kids and a wife that depend on you. Well, that's scary stuff, man. And it shows, I think, some of the uppermost levels of courage and bravery to do something, to attempt something like that, let alone be successful at it. That's one of the reasons why I'm taking my sweet time. Thankfully, the planet hasn't collapsed yet, and there's still food on the shelves and, you know, whiskey at the bar. There's still provisions for us. I don't feel it's always going to be that way. I think we're on borrowed time as it is. But just, you know, what do they say? Look before you leap. I see a lot of people, you know, YouTube is such a great resource on many things. I see a lot of folks so excited, moving off grid, getting out of the city. No more rat race for me. We're going to retire and do YouTube videos and make money on that, and do vlogs and make wooden boxes in our little wood shop to cover all our bills, and that's great. But man, you just got to be really, really careful. Be methodical when it comes to planning, step by step. You know, one of our first things is, let's pay off the property. Okay, done. Now let's pay off vehicles. Okay, almost done. We only got this one truck left. You know, get your place that you're buying, if there's a building on it like ours. If you buy a place that is kind of set up but needs repairs like we did, you know, got to get that stuff done first. I mean, yeah, we can move out now and live there, but it's not going to be easy. You know, we're almost done with our repairs, but not quite there yet. It's tough living so far away and only spending a few days a month out there trying to get things ready. You know, it's tough. Finding help is hard and expensive. You know, I'm getting up there in age. I can't be on a sharp peaked roof like that. I'd break my neck. So you got to get young, strong bucks, get up there and do all that heavy lifting. So do you have support like that? That's another question to ask yourself. Do you have support to get your place into a livable situation? One thing I see a lot of people do, and I don't recommend this because I've been a rancher. If you guys are from backcountry preps, you know, you can watch my videos 8, 9, 10 years ago and know that my ranch, that's actually out here by my new home, is an 8-acre ranch, and I had all the animals, all the livestock. I had 2 orchards, a big greenhouse, totally automated. We were creating, you know, 80-90% of everything we consumed, and it was great. And a lot of people, right when they buy property, one of the first things they do, they put a shed and start trying to convert it into a little house, and then they start getting animals, chickens, goats, pigs, cows, horses. You know, they start getting their homestead ready, in my opinion, prematurely. I think it's premature to do that. I know how much work it takes to have livestock. For the most part, most animals are pretty self-sufficient. You make sure they have food and water and some sort of shelter, and you pretty much leave them alone until you need to process them. But the amount of work it takes to build fencing and panels and do irrigation, and the money it takes to buy feed if you're in a place where you have to buy feed, like we are here in eastern San Diego and our place in Arizona, we don't have pasture land. We don't have pasture land at all. You'll know watching some of the videos I put up here that it's rock and dirt and trees and not much as far as grazing. So do you have the money to be able to feed your livestock? At one time I had about 20 pigs, and I can attest they eat like pigs, and a bag of feed was $17 at the time, and I went through probably 20 bags a month. So do the math, there's $300-400 just for the pigs, not including the cows. A bale of alfalfa back then was, I think, about $17-18 as well, and I would go through trailer loads of that stuff with all the animals I had. Another expense you have to take into consideration. I recommend waiting till everything else is done, if you can. You know, chickens, that's one thing. I mean, how much does chicken feed cost, right? It's chicken scratch, right? That's what they said. It's the saying that it's so cheap. It's like chicken scratch. You know, chickens, I would actually start off with that to begin with, just because feed is so cheap. They will free range as well, pick up bugs and little seeds and whatnot. So that helps supplement the feed, and they give you eggs, which is much more valuable than chicken feed. So you're exchanging low-cost chicken feed for higher-cost eggs. And who doesn't eat eggs? I mean, we eat eggs almost every day in my house, and we have a big household, so that's a lot of eggs. With the prices of eggs nowadays, you know, I would gladly transform a bag of feed into a month worth of eggs. So that being said, wait on the animals, guys. If you can, wait on the animals. Maybe chickens, but get your other things done first. Get your home done, where you're going to live, all the infrastructure done. Get all your systems in place before doing the whole animal garden thing. You know, and again, I would just take it slow. If you want to plant some tomatoes, go for it. But if your house is missing windows, you may want to do that first before planting some beefsteaks. You know what I'm saying? Just my opinion from what I've learned, guys. A homestead, a ranch, is nothing but a ton of work every day. Ton of work every day. There's a lot of great channels on here on YouTube. The Mud Puddle, you can type that in. Was it Off-Grid Homestead, the Mud Puddle? They're one of my neighbors. When I say neighbors, I mean within 100 miles. And they're doing it. They've had their place for a couple years. They're done with their home, and now they're getting into their animals and all the gardening stuff, all the fun stuff, the stuff that people dream about, the things that people desire. That's the whole reason why they're moving out there. But what I'm trying to say is, if you're doing all these things all at the same time before finishing one project, you may become overwhelmed. And a lot of people succumb to this overwhelming amount of work. If you start a project, finish that project 100% before starting another big project. Like we converted our old hay barn into a workshop at my place. And I didn't want to start working on the old cabin until the workshop was done, because that was going to be our staging area. That's where we're going to sleep. That's where we're going to eat. You know, cook food, that type of thing. That's where we're going to stay if it's too cold, if it's snowing or raining outside. We need a base. And we did that before we started getting the cabin going. So take one thing at a time so you don't become overwhelmed. And then, you know, in the middle of it, if you're having to go out at 6 in the morning and 6 at night to feed animals, stressing about the amount of feed in your storehouse dwindling down, you know, just to get to a feed store is $100 round trip in fuel. Do you have that $100? Do you have the $1,000 you're going to spend on feed, depending on how many animals you have? Do you have to work? I mean, there's just so many things to take into consideration. And the last thing that I want is for myself or my wife to be stressed out when we move out there. That way, taking debt out of the equation is huge, guys. Huge. Can't express that enough. Now, if you own a home in the city or the suburbs, and you're planning on selling that to finance your homestead, depending on your situation, once again, what I would do is I would take that large amount of money you got from your home sale, pay off all your debt, every single penny, and whatever money's left over, put that into starting your homestead. That way, when you're starting your homestead, you're not sidetracked by the things back in town that you're moving away from, right? Pay off debt first. So important. Now, some people say, well, I've got 10 credit cards. I'm going to go max them all out and get my homestead started and say, come get me. Take me to court, sue me, whatever. With all your creditors, with all the people you're in debt to. I don't recommend that. Don't recommend that. That is some stress that just, it's not healthy. Having your phone blowing up all day long. People looking for money. That's not a good way to live. Again, this is just my opinion, guys. Take it or leave it. But I highly recommend paying off debt first. All debt. Now, I know that's impossible. There's monthly things that you got to still do. You got to buy food. You got to buy whiskey, right? So stogies. You got to buy some cigars. Animal feed. Fuel for your generator, propane. If you're into that, if you have Starlink, that's $120 a month. What if you get a big gash in one of your tires? I just put new tires on this truck. They're almost $400 a piece. Do you have money set aside? Do you have a nest egg? Especially if you're not working, if you're retiring. I guess I'm not really retiring at 50. I guess I'm kind of semi-retiring because I still want to work. I still want to bring in an income. Just I don't want to be chained to it. I don't want to be forced to have to work just to make the bills. I just want to do it for extra money. Maybe I want to go on vacation or whatever. So some important things to think about, guys. If living off grid is something you're thinking about doing, don't take the decision lightly. It is a life-altering decision. 100% life-altering decision. Even for me, I'm not afraid of living off grid. I'm afraid, my biggest fear is moving away from the business that I've created, successful business I've created, mind you, giving it up. Just giving it up, moving on, something else. To be honest, I'm getting kind of bored of plumbing, guys. I've been doing it for 30 years. Kind of bored. Not really anything new that I haven't seen, so it's kind of get burned out. Money is not everything. You have to enjoy what you're doing. And it's not that I don't enjoy it, it's not a challenge. I enjoy things more that are challenging. And I think this whole off-grid homestead thing will be a huge challenge. I know I'll be successful at it. There's no doubt. That's just me. That's how I am. I will not fail. But I want to make it an easy transition, especially for the wife and kids. Easy transition. I don't want them to have to give up comfort and things that they enjoy here, being closer to town, to move out with this old guy, and suffer. I don't want that at all. Because if mama's not happy, I'm not happy, kids aren't happy, nobody's happy. And that kind of defeats the whole purpose. I want us to move out there and be excited and be happy and not be burdened by the stresses brought along by things like debt and work, deadlines and schedules and all that other garbage. It's not the way I believe life is supposed to be enjoyed. Now I get it. When you're growing up, you need to make money to afford things, to do stuff like that. I get that. I'm gonna go ahead and say it. There's a channel on here. My boy Don, senior citizen. I believe he's 71 years old. You guys have probably, if you were on this channel, you've probably seen his. Moved to southern Arizona, building a homestead. Dude has got just, he's a brave guy. He's doing it solo for the most part. 71-year-old senior in the middle of the desert building a homestead. That takes guts. That man is brave. I don't know if I would tackle such a project at that age. I'm glad I'm doing it at this age. You know, he's 21 years older than me. He has some medical issues. And man, it just shows a lot of bravery from Don. If anybody remembers the name of his channel, if you wouldn't mind put it in the comments. I just can't think of it off the top of my head. The Green Dream Project, they just changed their name. Jim and his wife just doing fantastic things. He retired very young, by the way. He has it up here. He had that mentality and he made it happen. So it is possible, guys. It's very possible. For me, I just take things ultra slow, ultra, hyper methodical, focused, exactly what I need to do now, what I need to do next month, the month after that, and blah, 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 until we move. I don't even want to think about gardens or animals for at least a year, probably 2 years. I want to get everything else done first, and I think that's the most important part. Every time I drive here, there's a flock of turkeys, wild turkeys. There's about 20 of them. They're just right here in this neighborhood where I live. Pretty cool to see. So anyways, guys, there you go. Some things to kind of consider, to think about before jumping in with both feet. It's a huge decision. Take your time and assess the possibilities